Well, I've been picking away at these seats off of the 8 and 11 passenger Yellowstone coaches that I'm working on. I have on the bench the second seat for this 8 passenger. I have the driver's seat roughed in. I'm gluing in the corner braces. I don't have everything fitted yet because I don't have the irons for these yet. I have the second seat on the 11 passenger also kind of roughed in. I have the corners being glued in. I'm letting that glue dry. And I haven't put the second set of irons on this seat yet because I'm actually going to use those irons as patterns for this coach. So it's in there close, but I haven't done the final fit yet. So I'm down to the second seat on the 8 passenger, and I just take my disc grinder and can kind of rough in these corners because I'm trying to match the curve of the frame on that rear curve. You know, years and years ago, not long after we first started here, I picked up a book called Restoration of Carriages, and it was written by George Iles. And it went into some of the details of painting and that type of stuff. And I remember reading in there, if my memory is correct, that he made a comment about a disc sander should never be allowed in the carriage shop. And I would agree. It removes a lot of wood fast, and it can cause a lot of damage fast. But I do use it a lot. But I have learned, I think, to be kind of careful with it. That's why I'm more on and off that switch, and I'm doing some of this fitting. But the final fitting comes down when I use my shoe and rasp, and you all have seen me use this a bunch. I use a horseshoeing rasp, and this has a red tang on it, and that's what the name of it is the red tang. I used to shoe my own horses when I rode a lot more, and I had a crossbred draft team that I did my mowing and haying and that type of stuff with, and so I would do my own shoeing. But I have ended up just kind of landing on this red tang, somewhat because of price, but not totally, but I like the way it cleans out. But any of these files are really sharp because they're made for working on horses' hooves. And when you have a white hoof, it's fairly soft, but when you have a black hoof, and especially in the summertime when it is dry, they are like filing rocks. They are really hard. So a horseshoe file is really, really sharp. And it has a real coarse side and it has more of a fine side, but even the fine side is pretty aggressive. But I use it for woodworking here. Well, you're going to notice in this video probably, I have 2 fingers, these 2 here, that I have fingertip bandages on. That's because this file is that sharp, and I slipped with it. I was working these corners, and I had it in kind of this position, trying to work up into that corner between the seat back and the seat frame, and it stuck, and my fingers slipped across that, and just like razor blades, it just slit the tip of my fingers. So they're actually pretty sore right now. I could feel my heartbeat in my fingertips for a while. So just a heads up, if you do happen to use one of these things, just be cautious because they are really sharp. It's just an FYI. And another thing about these files is that they also have teeth on the edge. They are pretty nice for getting into tight corners if you're working with the smooth side. The real coarse side has a little space here, about 1/8 of an inch, and so you can't get into a tight corner with that side. but you sure can with this other side. And that's the side that I use to just come up into this corner and match that frame. And I was doing something like so, and it stuck, and my fingers just went whoop and opened up the end of my fingers. It's not the first time, I have to admit that. You notice, probably many of you notice, because I get comments about this in the comment section, why I don't use a handle. And it's largely because I do this type of floating work with this file a lot. And so that handle's in the way, and so I've just become accustomed to not having it. See, where this wants to stick is I'm working against this end grain, and that's what happened before, is it stuck and my hand slipped. I'm going to stand up so I can see this a little bit better here. See, I should be running this file this way, so I'm not running into that end grain. But it works really nice to clean up that corner. That sanding disc doesn't get into that corner real well, but it moves a lot of material fast, and then I can use this rasp just to float things out and make that a nice round corner. So a number of you have commented that you now have these files in your arsenal wood shop at home. And that's a good thing, and you're going to find out, if you haven't found already, it is a fantastic file. But it'll bite you too. So this really isn't meant to be an infomercial and advertisement for my files. I oftentimes have them listed in the description if you're all interested. I don't always have them there, but you know, you can get them. I think that's an Amazon link. I get them at farm and ranch stores, TSC, Shipton's, out here, Western Ranch Supply. A lot of these will carry these. This is a 17-inch. They call it the Big Hoof. And I bought a case of these because at one time, through that COVID madhouse stuff, I couldn't get my traditional 14 inches, so I bought a box of these 17s. And this is the last one, and I'm going to be finding another case here relatively quickly. And if they're available, I really do like that 14. Just nice and comfortable to use. Do all you guys do that? You know, this type of thing? I remember when I first saw that done. I should finish what I'm doing before I get sidetracked. That's the paper towel I had when I cut my fingers. But I remember back when I was in college, this would have been 72 to 76. So from 73 to 76, I worked at a greenhouse there in Bozeman. It's no longer there. It's called Milam's. And there was a little Filipino man there, and he was about so tall. His name was Johnny. I remember that clearly, and he was a feisty little rascal. But he was the first one that I saw do this. We would put covers over the flower beds to steam them to sterilize the soil. And so he had multiple clamps up and down the side to clamp the plastic over the beds. And he would do this, and I saw that. Oh, I'm a little rusty here. That is really slick, and I've done it ever since. I don't know if that's something that you folks do. As I did that, it just, one of those memories that came flooding back at me. So I'll let those cure before I start making some irons. So I just clamped this in and see my glue seeping out here and seeping out here. That's how open grained some of this oak is. That glue from the backside that I just put it on came clear through and came out in these two spots. It's kind of interesting. So I think it was in a video here a while back. I forget now what I did. Oh, I was taking the irons off of the 2 second seats on that 11 passenger coach. That's what it was. I had taken the irons for the driver and was wondering if you noticed the difference on the irons that went on the 2 second seats. Well, many of you did. Most of you did. Anyway, so since you are all this attentive, some of you have mentioned that I see you're wearing a new hat. You're right, I am. This is a hat that I had made here, already dusty, recently here locally. And if you can see it here, I had them put my logo, that circle emblem of the Borax wagons, on this hat. I have been looking for somebody that could do it and make it clear, and this gal here has a little shop that she does this custom work, and she played with it and got it to where it would work. So I'm finally going to be able to have a hat that I can offer anybody that might be interested. She's doing it in this color, gray in front, black in back, and I think we have another color or two anyway. So that's one step in that direction. I have not been able to find anybody to do that. When I send them my logo, they always say it's too much detail. They can't do it, but she played with it and got it to work. And if you have been coming through on your vacations this last summer, the last couple months, I finally got her to put together some shirts as well with the Engels Coach, that long Borax logo that I use occasionally. You see it a lot of times on my videos. She has got those put together. Well, these are going to be offered through the store/museum, but the store part of that. And she has been working for about a month to try to get her webpage up to make it available online for those of you who are interested. And through the course of the summer, I had a number of you bring them over here with a magic marker and say, would you sign it? So it got me to thinking, and since she's right here across the street, I had her do these shirts in what I'm going to call the signature logo. And below the long Borax logo picture with Engels Coach Shop, she has included my signature, Dave Engel, underneath that. So it's going to be a signature t-shirt that isn't available anywhere else. They're a nice t-shirt, really nice, soft, comfortable t-shirts. And I might just show you maybe a sample of what we have. I don't have them available online yet, but hopefully that's coming soon. And I'll get this out of the way so I actually have a place that I can show you what we're putting together. So right now, this is the color assortments that we have. So this is kind of a sagebrush green. This she calls a coyote brown. This is a kind of an evergreen green and a royal blue. So because these are in little plastic covers, the light kind of reflects on them. So here's one without the plastic that you can maybe see it a little bit better. It has a typical logo on it that I use a lot in my videos. And in the lower right hand corner, she's included my signature. So that's the logo on all 4 colors, but maybe without the plastic, it's a little more clear. She used my high resolution logo and got a really nice finish on the wagons themselves. And then this is the cap that she just finished. It's not a pure white logo. It's kind of toned back a little bit, which is what I liked. I've already got it dirty because I've been wearing it today. But this is the style of logo on the cap that she's going to make. And then because this is turning into a full-blown infomercial, we have a gal here in town that makes custom pottery. And she has made this set of cups or mugs for us specifically with our own color design. She put the label on the front of it as Engels Coach Shop. That is going to be part of the lineup as well that will soon be available. So we've had most of this available for a couple months in the store, but it hasn't been offered online yet. So we're hoping that that will happen relatively soon. And these are different items than what is available on the Teespring, or now Spring, merchandise store on my YouTube channel. These are made locally here. The signature tees, this custom handmade mug is not being offered anywhere else except right here. They are both Montana made locally right here. So if that's an interest, she might kind of give me a heads up. We are trying to anticipate what that interest might be. You know, it's kind of a learning curve, but we'll deal with it as it comes. But I just want to let you know kind of what's in the works. You know, the whole process of putting this museum/store together has been kind of an evolving process from the initial brainchild. And many of you have stopped through the summer to visit, and it's been pretty astonishing how many that has been. We have a little book over there that if you're interested, you can write your name down and where you're from. Not that we're keeping track of anything. But you know, we have on record here somewhere close to maybe 700 people that stopped this summer. And literally from all over the world, as I have mentioned before. Now, we're only a town of 600 people here. So we are an ag-related community based largely on farming and ranching. And Billings is only 30 some miles away, so we have that access to metropolitan as we need it. But this is small town, and this little museum store is pretty small town stuff too. It's not anything that is big and elaborate, but the feedback has been from those of you who have stopped that it's a pretty nice little store. And we have a variety of Montana-made gifts over there, from pottery to hats and our t-shirt type stuff, and other local artisans that are contributing to this as well. And Kathy, who runs the store, is doing some imprinting on mugs and cutting boards and magnets and keypads for your computers. And she's been doing this for 30 some years, so she's not new at this game as well. So all this is just fleshing out the inventory of what is available in this little small town store. And she is in the process of finishing up the web page. She does have a store on Shopify that much of this stuff is going to be listed on. And I'll provide that link here hopefully next week in that video. She's just doing the tail end, finishing up of some of that stuff, and she has enough items in that store that she is continually adding to them. The items are in the store, she's just trying to get them listed on her Shopify store. So the web page and the Shopify store will actually be tied together. The Shopify might be the first avenue that opens up the door for you to actually do some shopping of what is in there without having to travel the miles to come. So this ended up being more of an infomercial than I had kind of anticipated, but this is the season and we wanted to make it available to you as easily as possible. So I appreciate you following along, appreciate all of you who have stopped by and said hi and have shopped in the store. It has really been a lot of fun to meet you all and hope to see more of you in the future. So once again, appreciate you coming along. Thanks for watching.